Welcome to the Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Insightful and witty commentary, probing interviews, and detours from the beaten path.
Every once in a while, we have to bring out the big dog.
Yeah.
Oh, God help us. It's time for Danny Unleashed. Sponsored by Easton Roofing, where integrity matters. Go to eastonroofing.com for more.
Easton Roofing, one of the fastest growing local companies here in Kansas City, locally owned and operated. That is Easton Roofing, and they are hiring right now. In fact, generous sign-on bonus for qualified candidates, paid training for those with little or no experience. They offer profit sharing, health insurance, and 401k match, company vehicle and tools, guaranteed year-round work, and an additional bonus for veterans as well. This is at Easton Roofing. You can find them online at eastonroofing.com. Easton Roofing, integrity matters. Call 913-257-5426. Commercial, residential, yes, they do both. Project manager on every site. Happy to do repairs. In fact, you can get a free inspection and, if necessary, a free estimate right now by calling 913-257-5426. Let Sam in the office get the ball rolling. She'll be happy to get everything taken care of and get one of the guys, Charles, Austin, Chris, Dan. They'll be happy to come out, get you a free inspection and a free estimate. If all you need is a repair, they'll be happy to do it. Thankfully, that's all I needed when Easton Roofing was at my house. If you do need a new roof, don't worry. No payments collected until you're 100% satisfied. Credit cards and PayPal accepted. Financing available as well. As we know, these are difficult times. You can get financing available as well. 4 straight years voted best of houses. Angie's List Super Service Award winner, yes. And check out those Google reviews. You'll see how impressed people are by the job that's done by Easton Roofing. Whether you want to join the team or you need your roof looked at, call 913-257-5426. See them online at eastonroofing.com. We welcome Danny Clinkscale to the program. Danny, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing all right, Soren. I mean, I don't think you can ever unequivocally say you're doing great these days, I guess, but as good as can be expected. Had a wonderful Father's Day, as I hope you did, and thanks for the happy Father's Day from you, and I appreciated that.
You are welcome. Yes,
and,
I do what I can.
Yeah. It was an unusual way to have a great Father's Day because my father's kind of in failing health, but we did a Zoom with him, and we don't know how many more of those we're going to have with him, and we're able to bring a smile to his face. He's not that cognitive these days.
With Bob Clinkscale.
Right.
Sorry.
You do a good impression of that, actually. That's an old promotional announcement that Curtis has seen of my dad from when he was an anchorman. But he was smiling and laughing along with us, not talking too much. But and then from both coasts, I Zoomed with my daughter. So I had one of my best Father's Day ever, and I wasn't in the physical presence of either my father or my daughters, but it was fantastic. When you've got a 26 and a 23-year-old, and after 2 hours on the Zoom call, they want to keep talking. That's pretty good, you know.
Yeah, I would agree. I've had some Zoom marathons. They usually include Corona. I'll tell you that. That seems to fuel the spirit with some friends. And, you know, one of the problems for me is a lot of my friends are on the West Coast.
Right.
So like they're ready to get started about 10:30. Yeah, that makes for a late night on my end if we're going to chat for 3 hours,
Exactly.
4 hours.
Yep.
You know,
no
like,
doubt.
Yeah, it's good. I sit down. It's 10:30 on my end, and it's still sunny where these guys are sitting in Vegas, and I'm like, okay. Or my buddy in San Diego, I'm like, and it's really sunny in San Diego because he's on the far edge,
right, of the time zone, like we are
of the
here.
time zone. So, yeah, it's like, holy cow, man. It is like, I'm yawning, and he's just like, yeah. It's
you know, my family lives on the eastern part of a time zone, and in the summertime, my mother's an early riser, and sometimes when I've stayed at the house, I've had to like sleep in the area where she gets her coffee and everything in the morning, you know, because it's and literally it because it's on the eastern end, it actually gets dark by 8 o'clock, but it's light out at like 4:15. What a waste! Yeah. I mean, it's fine for her, but there's people sleeping 3 hours in daylight.
Why are you sleeping in the kitchen?
Because the house would be crowded with people. Our house was always crowded with people visiting and such. So
So I sleep on top of the fridge.
I don't care where I sleep.
Just curl up like a cat.
I can sleep like on a bed of nails. So I'll take that. I'll take the worst spot.
You slept on my couch in my parents' house.
Yes, I did.
Once.
That's a funny story.
You can't sleep anywhere.
That's a funny story we won't tell right here and can't tell, actually. I
guess
we
my gosh.
I guess we
it
could.
Was.
I guess we could.
I don't mind.
No. Yeah, his dad put on a thunderous display of flatulence that morning. That was how I woke up that time, actually.
And I was like, yeah, that's called every morning since I was 5.
It was pretty epic. I mean, it was pretty awesome, I'll say that.
Anyway. Especially Danny's very dry description of it the following day. It was like, oh, my gosh. Anyway.
Happy Father's Day to everyone, and I hope yours was as good as mine.
All right, good. Thank you. I had a great Father's Day. Yes, and good times. Good times for all, and I echo those sentiments. We've been talking about the NFL, the business of the NFL, as well as the business of getting Chris Jones signed. I'd just like to do a pulse check here and there from time to time. Where do you sit on what we're going to see, how the Chris Jones saga is going to play out?
It's hard to think of things in a vacuum these days because, you just don't know if people are as engaged in the business of what they would have been doing because of all that's going on. And so I guess that doesn't lend itself to thinking that a long-term deal is going to get done with Chris Jones. And then you've got the uncertainty of the salary cap for next year, as you were discussing in the last hour. I guess I'm not going to change from what I thought before. I don't think Chris Jones will be in the long-term plans of the Chiefs, but I'd say it's probably more likely now that he will play for the Chiefs, if the Chiefs play, this season than maybe it was before.
Here's the part of the equation that baffles me, and I'm fully open to the idea that there's something that I don't know that other people that are more wired in than me know. The concept, I read a quote from Matt Derrick saying that he felt like it had always been at the end of 20 that the extension for Patrick Mahomes was going to come together. Jeff Chadilla was talking about at the end of the 21 season is when they got to get it done because they've got the fifth-year option. I get it. That's drop-dead date. But if Patrick Mahomes gets to the end of the 21 season and doesn't have a contract with the Chiefs, there is no reason. In fact, do we have that? I think that's number 6. Do we have that? Let's just play that. I want to. This is. You got number 6, Chad?
Yep.
Okay, this is Chadilla. By the way, great segment. If you're just joining us, you missed it. We played a number of the highlights, but the board patrol, it's always great when Jeff's on. I love it. It's a great NFL segment. But this is Jeff saying that one big hurdle for Jones is Patrick Mahomes' impending deal.
It's hard for me to imagine a situation where he doesn't have a new deal before 2022 starts. And so even with 2021, that fifth-year option is going to kick up the money, on what he's supposed to get paid, and that's going to affect your salary cap. So, again, you're going to have to be cutting somewhere. You're going to have to be making some hard decisions somewhere along the way. And it's just – he'll get paid regardless. He'll be the highest-paid player. He'll get a big deal. I don't think there's no question about that. It's just a matter of when it happens. It's just the trickle-down effect of it. And we keep coming back to Chris Jones and all this, and he's the trickle-down part of this. He's getting trickled on.
That's
All right, I'm glad I heard that again because it was I took the statement to mean that okay, that's when the deal would get done. That's not what he said. Obviously, he said I can't imagine 22 coming around with him not having a deal done. He doesn't really put a timeline on where it is, so I'm glad I heard that again. But let me reiterate: there is no world where Brett Veach has a job working for the Kansas City Chiefs if Patrick Mahomes is playing the 21 season and is not signed beyond that with the Kansas City Chiefs. There is no world, at least one that I want to live in, where he still has his job if he is in the final year of his deal and hasn't been signed to an extension, because there is no reason whatsoever for Patrick Mahomes to sign an extension.
Right, exactly.
If he's already in, he's rolled the bones, man. The dice have been played. And we're going to see how it goes, because getting onto the open market, there are teams that will literally spend every nickel that they can possibly get. They'll cut whoever it takes. And so if you get to that point, you don't sign. So let me be clear. This concept that because the Chiefs control him through the 5th year, that they're going to get there. Now you say, well, they can put the franchise tag on him. Yes. Yes, you can. Yes, you can do that. Absolutely, you can do that. That is something that you can do. At that point, we're talking 40, 45 million, and that's what the Chiefs would do. They would hold him on that, and then they'd probably hit him again with that. So the idea that he's going to be free in 2 years, no, that's not going to happen. But also, both sides know this. Both sides want this deal done. And so I don't think there's any reason. And frankly, Patrick Mahomes wants the $110 million minimum, because that's the record right now, 109 and change for Jared Goff, for the most guaranteed dollars. Why would you risk, when you've already had a sprained ankle and a dislocated kneecap in this season? You had, I've seen the scar along his wrist from the wrist surgery he had to have when he was at Texas Tech. All right, he left the game against KU his junior year with, I can't remember, was it a groin strain? This kid's no stranger to injuries. And the thing that you got to do is bank the most guaranteed money. I've heard the talk about how, well, maybe there'll be this deal where he gets a percentage of the cap. No. And you want to know why? Because the pandemic would cost him money. All right, think about it. If the cap goes down next year, Patrick Mahomes is going to take a pay cut? Hell no. So that is not going to happen. Let me tell you this right now. It's not happening. And people are just filling time by telling you that there's a chance that will happen. It won't happen because they're not going to take a risk, especially since they've now just seen that, yes, the cap can back up. The quarterback's the one spot that you're not going to do a bargain deal with, and the quarterback's the one spot that he's going to make sure he gets his money. But why would Patrick Mahomes wait to get that guaranteed dollars? Right now he's guaranteed, the $5 million or $6 million this year and the $25 million next year, right? If he doesn't get hurt. And even then there's a way, it's pretty hard. So he's guaranteed about $31 million if he wants to play it out and go to where they got to put the franchise tag on him. Then he'd get about another 40, right? So let's call that, now we're at roughly $70 million. Then they franchise him again, let's call it 50. So now he's at $120 million. But he had to stay healthy for 4 years to get the same money that they'll guarantee him right now. If there's going to be any kind of new fancy deal with Patrick Mahomes, it's going to be that he's going to get a 4-year extension with it 100% guaranteed. That's going to be it. It's going to be 37 plus, I'll call it, but probably 40 million plus per year, and it'll all be guaranteed, or 80 or 90% of it will be guaranteed, and there'll be and that's how he's going to rewrite the quarterback contract thing. I don't understand why this seems so difficult, and I'll be happy to admit, wow, I didn't see that coming if I'm wrong. But are you as amazed as I am to think that Mahomes is going to sit around even to the end of 20? Why would he wait till the end of 20 to get this deal?
Well, I don't
when
think
precedent was set last year with Wentz and Goff that you get it after the 3rd year.
Well, I also don't think it's good business for the Chiefs in any way, shape, or form. Every step of the way that you take another step of the way is an opportunity to piss Patrick Mahomes off, as well as other things, and then just say, well, they can franchise me a couple of times, but then I'm done. I've had it with these people. I don't think there's that animus in their relationship, but it can get there. And the longer you're in something like this, the greater that possibility is. And one thing that I've gotten to the point of, I guess, when we talk about this, and I'm sure 15 years ago some people had gotten to this point when these figures were more like $2 and $3 million. But when we're talking about somebody making $40-something million in a year, or having guaranteed 100, it just kind of is white noise to me almost. I understand the importance of it because of the salary cap, but it's really the only reason that I find it interesting to talk about and hear you talk about it, because you're really good at it. It is the salary cap ramifications. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is going to make more money off the field than he is on. I mean, this is just complete monopoly money at this point in time. And
it is, and I'm going to tell you, and I think when you talk about, ask somebody how much we spend on healthcare in the country, how much we spend on the military, how much we spend on what it like. Nobody knows because the numbers are so astronomical.
Right.
We can't comprehend it. Right.
And what our national debt is.
Yeah, what the national debt is. Oh, it's this many trillion. Well, what does that mean? I don't know. It's a fake number as far as I'm concerned.
Exactly.
Right. What are the ramifications for my kids, my grandkids? No idea. Don't know because I can't even figure out what the hell it is. Right? I mean, we literally sit here in a fog.
The good thing for some of these athletes is that they've almost gotten to the point where you almost won't have material for a documentary about somebody screwing up their money because they've got so much. And now it would be an epically fantastic documentary if somebody could blow this kind of money. Blowing $10 million, okay. A few bad investments, whatever. I got it. But
$240 million?
$240 million? That'd take some work. That'd take some real work.
Yeah. I mean, it's and so like this is the thing, and nobody wants to hear it until we start creeping up to the season. We start creeping up to the deadline. This is what I've been talking about. The Chiefs don't know what the cap's going to be.
Right.
And right, if you just give Chris Jones whatever he wants, okay, are you okay with cutting Tyrann Mathieu, Mitchell Schwartz, and Tyreek Hill? And everybody immediately goes, oh, well, no. Well, but those are the realities you're facing.
Well, the other part is,
are you going to have to cut all three? Well, I don't know. If the NFL really does, and the owners have the right, because it's based upon the previous year's revenue, and the players are going to get all their money this year, so they have a right to say, okay, here's how much money. Their books are open, and they would have a right to say, okay, we're cutting it down to $133 million. And if that happens, and the Chiefs are at 175, they've got to cut $42 million while still replacing all those people with league minimums. So figure, just rule of thumb, $500,000 back on for every guy you're going to replace them with. And so give me the $42 million you want to cut just to get under the cap. Then give me the $21 million more you want to cut to keep Chris Jones. So give me the $63 million that you want to cut. Oh, you want to have your draft picks? Okay, give me another $8-9 million. So give me the $72 million you want to carve out of the Chiefs' salary cap right now to make it work. And I'm not that far off when I say Tyreek Hill, Mitchell Schwartz, and Tyrann Mathieu, because I mean we're talking about significant chunks of money you've got to get to, and that does not include the extension for Patrick Mahomes.
Well, I mean,
you've got to carve out as well.
Well, I think the prime example is the Seattle Seahawks. Now they have still been a decent football team since Russell Wilson signed his contract, but they had 15 standout defenders on that Legion of Boom. And those guys are scattered all over the league now.
Yeah. Which, when you talk about, when we mentioned the roster thing and why the Ravens have all those guys on defense and they have this great roster, at some point that's going to come due for them with Lamar Jackson, and at some point they won't be able to put those guys around there. So,
and that's why the Ravens going in the 20 season for the Ravens is the Chiefs 19.
Yes, they're exactly right. 1 year off.
They're following the Chiefs' blueprint. They're like, Calais Campbell, bring him on. We'll take him. That's their Frank Clark move, right? Cheaper than Frank Clark, but still a big ticket addition. And they're bringing everything they can in, and they're going to make a run at it because then Lamar Jackson's going to get expensive. Now, for me, if I were them, I would play Lamar Jackson out with franchise tags. I would never give him a multi-year deal, not until he proved that he could win the game with his arm. Because right now he wins the game with his legs.
Right, and also the way he plays is even more susceptible to injury by far than Patrick Mahomes. But I'll say this. During this process, however, because the euphoria of winning the Super Bowl and Chris Jones made some incredibly impactful plays in the Super Bowl, et cetera, but it's now as if Chris Jones, when I hear him being discussed, is like he's a combination of Deacon Jones and Thor.
He's Bill Bradsky from the old SNL bit.
I mean, he's like the greatest defensive line. He's like some animatronic creation of defensive linemen. He's not even the best at his position, and everybody routinely now says he's the second best interior lineman in the league. I'm not just going to just say that offhand. He's fine. He's really a good player, but he also, for whatever reason, maybe just because he's a happy-go-lucky, fun guy, he does strike me as the kind of person who could sign for this big contract and show up at 3:45 at training camp. Having spent the entire off season sipping Mai Tais. So, I mean, he can't do it this year if they signed him up now, but he wouldn't have time.
Listen, he's a really good player, but to me, the lesson that the New England Patriots have taught everybody, and what's amazing is how no team is willing to actually learn the lesson and fully digest it, is that, really the only guy you got to pay is the quarterback.
Exactly.
I mean, I'll make you a case that they actually hurt themselves by signing Gronkowski. Because had they not given Gronkowski money, maybe they could have gotten some wideouts. Now, who's going to argue with 6 Super Bowls and 9 Super Bowl appearances? And even during the Gronk, how many Gronk win, Curtis? 2 or
2?
3?
Yeah, I think 14 and 16. I don't think he was there for.
He was there for 18 for sure.
Oh yeah, so yeah, that would be 3 then. I forget much.
Okay.
They won 3 out of 5.
Yeah, so 3. What do you go? 3 and 1 probably.
Yeah, they lost.
Right.
Yeah. He was there at 11 because the last one knocked off his hand. So 3, and then he lost the one to the Eagles. So 3 and 2.
Okay. All right. So 3 and 2. All right. So, I'm not going to argue with that kind of return. And to me, that's the one thing. It's like, okay, pitch and catch combo. Like, if you want to take the Patriots plan, it's your best pitch and catch combo. It's the quarterback and it's the guy that catches his number one target. Give him whoever he wants. If that's Tyreek Hill, fine. If that's Travis Kelce, fine. You give him those guys. And the Patriots have actually spent quite a bit of money on their offensive line. I'm fine with that. They've surprisingly spent a lot of money on offense that people don't realize. But what they don't do is come up with these $100 million. Like, tell me how the Khalil Mack deal is doing right now. Tell me how the Aaron Donald deal is doing.
Well,
right now.
I mean, I think the example in this case that fits best is that they just let Richard Seymour go away.
They
sorry.
traded him.
Which
is what I think the Chiefs' plan was, and they got screwed by the pandemic.
Right, and I think that really at the point they traded him, I think Richard Seymour was every bit as good a player, if not better, than Chris Jones.
All pro.
Yeah, I would agree. Chris Jones is really good. I mean, Chris Jones
and can get better. And can get better. Now, I'm not even saying he can't, but
yeah, he can. The problem is, like, what do we expect from him after this? We'll talk about that next. Danny Clinkscale's with us. He's brought to you by Easton Roofing. It's Danny Unleashed. Easton Roofing can be found online at eastonroofing.com or by calling 913-257-5426. They are hiring. Generous sign-on bonuses for qualified candidates and paid training for those with little or no experience, plus great benefits. Easton Roofing is a great company to work for, locally owned and operated. Let Joe and his team sign you up to join the team, or, of course, if you need any work done on your roof. Don't hesitate. Call right now, 913-257-5426. Find them online at eastonroofing.com.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
We're here with Joe Spiker, the CEO and president of Easton Roofing. And, Joe, you had a great year in 2019, a record year. 2020 comes, things are moving smoothly along, and then the coronavirus comes. But your company seemed to be very ready, very proactive, and very ready to serve your customers well.
Yeah, we adopted social distancing very early before the cities even put out the notices. And we started working from home. We are largely cloud-based as a company, so that transition was easy. Our technicians are wearing masks and gloves, and salespeople are not meeting with homeowners. We're doing everything digitally and doing everything we can to do our part to get over this as quickly as possible.
So for any needs that people have right now, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Well, you can always call us, 913-257-5426. But the best way is to go to eastonroofing.com, put your information in, and we'll give you a call.
Easton Roofing. Integrity matters.
How many top 10 draft picks are in the 3,000 hit club?
Ooh, wow, that's a great question. Wow. I guess I didn't hear it. I must have been doing something. I didn't hear it when you gave it. It's brought to you by our friends at Good Sense, by the way. Go to goodsensesubs.com. Right now, you can put your order in, get yourself a wonderful sandwich, slicing the meats and cheeses fresh right in front of you. You know, they bake their bread fresh twice each day, wonderful fresh veggies. It is absolutely fantastic. Founded right in Lenexa. Joe did such a fantastic job with this great company, growing nationally. Good Sense, go to goodsensesubs.com. Use that app as well. The rewards, make sure you're signed up for that, 10% back every time you use it. It is absolutely the best. Good Sense. Go there today, goodsensesubs.com. Man, how many are top 10 picks? Well, the draft started what year?
65.
Did A-Rod get 3,000 hits?
He did. There's
Yes,
one.
he did. Yes, so A-Rod,
31-15.
I think
Jeter is. He was like number 7 or something.
Number 6.
5.
Did,
A-Rod, Jeter.
did Griffey get 3,000?
Nope.
I didn't think he did.
No, he didn't. Jeez. Let me cheat and see if I can get the. I just get the leaders in front of me. Boy, I love this question. I'd love to spend a long time trying to grind through it.
2 guys were teammates on a World Series team.
Paul Molitor, was he a top 10 draft pick?
Number 3.
Okay, so I'll go Molitor. That's 3.
Kirby Puckett wasn't a top 10 draft choice, was he?
He didn't get 3,000.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Pujols wasn't a top 10 pick.
Didn't survive long enough.
Was Ripken?
Nope.
Brett wasn't.
Molitor.
Yount. Was Yount?
Robin Yount, 3rd overall. That's the teammate to Molitor.
Gwynn?
Nope.
Winfield was.
Dave Winfield, number 4, 4th overall. In ascending order of hits, Winfield, A-Rod.
Have I named them all?
Yep. All 5.
Ricky wasn't?
Ricky was not. Winfield, A-Rod, Yount, Molitor, and Jeter. Jeter is 46 today. He has the most hits of a top 10 pick.
I would say
He
that's
was
a
the 6th overall.
reasonably decent indication of how important it is to have a high draft pick.
No, it's not, because you'd have to say, like, Pete Rose, was he – when was the first year of the draft,
65.
Curtis? So did Pete Rose –
No.
Was he draft eligible?
No.
But, like, Ty Cobb wasn't. Hank Aaron, no. Musial, no. Speaker, no.
No, but it's quite a few is all I'm saying. Those guys were really high picks.
I thought you were saying it's not important.
No, I think it is important.
Okay.
I think it shows how important. I mean, that's the list of, there's not that many 3,000 hit guys, and look how many were really high draft picks, and how many of them have come since the draft.
Yeah, the
started.
ones that were in the draft are probably. I'll look at that at some point here. I'm interested to see how many of the 3,000 hit guys who
were draft eligible,
who came up in the draft. How many of them were top 10 picks?
Right.
Or how many more? Where were they? We just mentioned how many. There were 5, but that's a good point. I realized. I realized
I'm looking up what I've already looked up.
I had already done that. Yeah, someone should do that. I wonder how many. I wonder how many top 10 picks are 3,000 hit guys. It's just amazing. Oh, could be 5.
Could be 5, which is a pretty significant amount.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. So there you have it. All right. What was that we were talking about at the end there, Danny? God, I didn't write it down.
We were still on Chris Jones, and I don't think there was anything specific.
No. What he's going to be.
Right.
Right.
I don't think. My thought is that I think he's more likely to have already seen his best play than less likely.
Exactly.
Yeah, right. I mean, I think I'm not going to say that he's completely peaked as a player, but between the combination of getting paid, having already won, and just the natural hunger and desire, and the nature of the position, and, he already had a 15-sack year as an interior defensive lineman. I mean, is he going to do that again? I'd say the odds would be no. So
I'd say they're highly likely to be no. We did the numbers of the guys that had a 30 approximate value or more, and accumulated a 30 approximate value or more, which is a stat by Pro Football Reference. It's like WAR, okay? Chris Jones has accumulated a 30 over his first 4 years. We took all the players that had a 30 WAR in their first 4 years at D-tackle that also had 30 sacks or more. Chris Jones has had 33. And, I'd sort of say, well, so-and-so was actually hurt in his second year. Like, I don't care. Like, that's part of, being available is part of it, right? Chris Jones had 33 sacks. So everyone with 30 sacks and a 30 AV. And let me see if I can open it up. I've got it saved here. But, the names were Reggie White, Aaron Donald, J.J. Watt. Okay, there's the stars of stars. Watt has now played 5 years since his first 4. And Donald's only played 2 years, so we don't have, we don't have all the data to see how he's going to do. But some of the other names: John Randall, Trevor Price, Kevin Williams, Michael Dean Perry, Keith Millard. Okay, in the 4-year run, they are averaging 8 sacks a year in the next 4 years. That's with Reggie White. When you take Reggie White out, they average 5. Because Reggie White was such a freak, right? Mm-hmm. And with Reggie White over the next 6 years, and you lose J.J. Watt, and Aaron Donald doesn't figure into either one of these, so these numbers are going to go up if he keeps playing the way he is, but he hasn't played 4 years after and 6 years after. The next 6 years, it goes to 7.5 sacks over each of the next 6 years, and it drops to, and it stays right at about 4.5 sacks for the next 6 years. I mean, listen to those names. That's the average of with Reggie White. Reggie White counts for like 3 extra sacks, just him alone. That's how much better than everybody else he was. And Aaron Donald to me is the new Reggie White. I don't think Chris Jones is anywhere near those two athletic freaks, right? But John Randall, Trevor Price, Kevin Williams, Michael Dean Perry, Keith Millard, and pretty soon I'll be able to add J.J. Watt to the 6-year one. I mean, that's what you can expect. So you're talking about, a guy who's asking for, $80 million guaranteed, and which means you're not going to get rid of him for at least 3 years. He's asking for $21 million a year minimum, which is a fair ask when the Colts give it to DeForest Buckner. I'm not saying what he's asking for is uncalled for. It is. What I'm telling you is the Bears aren't winning squat because of Khalil Mack. Like that deal, everyone that thought they were such geniuses. The quarterback is what makes it go.
Right.
And I don't like people just assume that Chris Jones is going to be this 15-sack guy every year. He's not. He's going to be, according to this math, when I include Reggie White, 8 sacks a year. And frankly, I would say if you're lucky, that's what he's going to be.
And also, the year that Chris Jones had 15 sacks, the Chiefs' defense sucked. With a capital S.
The capital sucked.
Right, yeah, the whole thing capitalized with 15 exclamation points after it. I mean so you can have an impact. Think of a guy, how many quarterbacks really you have like great years and their offense stinks. Now their team might not, they might go 6-10 because their defense is rotten, but at least the offense will be good. He had that kind of monster season as an interior defensive lineman, and the Chiefs are like the worst defense in the league.
So let me give you another one. All right, here's another one for you to chew on, Batman. What did the Chiefs give up in each one of the playoff games this year?
Well, they gave up 20 in the.
Okay, so they gave up 20 in the Super Bowl. Did Chris Jones play?
Yes.
Yes, he played. Okay, all right, so they gave up 20.
And then they gave up a bunch early in the other two, but
what did they give up? What did they give up to the Titans?
What did it end up being? 31, right? 51-30.
To the Titans, they gave up 24.
Yeah. Oh, right. Houston was 51-31.
Yeah. Did Chris Jones play in that?
Yes.
He did. The answer is yes. Okay, what did they give up to the Texans?
31.
Did Chris Jones play?
Was that a no?
Yeah.
No, that was a no.
Yeah, he was all.
No, he didn't play against the Texans.
He didn't. Oh, that's right.
Yeah, no,
that's right. That's right.
He was hurt.
He didn't play against the Texans.
That's right.
And so, and by the way, let's review. How much of those 31 points were actually given up by the defense?
Was it 21?
I'll call it 17.
Yeah.
They had a punt block for a touchdown, and they had a punt muffed inside the 10 by Tyreek Hill that the Texans took it a whole 5 yards or 7 yards for a touchdown. So I'll say 17 points were actually given up by the defense.
Yeah.
In the game that Chris Jones didn't play. Let's do another thing. Rank the 3 playoff quarterbacks that the Chiefs faced. Jimmy Garoppolo, Ryan Tannehill, Deshaun Watson. Rank them 1 through 3.
Watson. This year, I'll still say Garoppolo, I guess, and then Tannehill. But this year, Tannehill was quite good.
So against the best quarterback, without Chris Jones, they had their best defensive performance of the playoffs.
Right, and kind of had to stop the other team in their tracks right at that point that they needed to because they were so far behind. I mean, it wasn't just that they didn't allow that much. They couldn't allow any more.
So let me be clear. My point is not because
it's not that Chris Jones isn't any good.
There are people like
my point either. But
Corey Anderson is sitting there going, so what's your point? They're better without him? No, that's not my point. They are better with Chris Jones. My point is this. Without Chris Jones and no replacement, they were good enough to hold the Texans to 17 points. The idea, what I think people can't get themselves away from, is the concept that, like, if Chris Jones leaves, we're going to suck. No, your point, Danny, that he had 15.5 sacks, had his best year, and they sucked on defense. Okay? Because you have him doesn't mean you're going to be good, and when you don't have him doesn't mean you're going to suck. The scheme and the coverage and the other talent means a lot. To give, 12% of your salary cap to a guy that maybe affects the game at a 2 or 3% clip is not wise. And it would not be done by the New England Patriots, who have established the way you win in a salary cap era.
And also, a defensive lineman's job in so many ways is thankless, especially an interior lineman, but also a person who's being relied on to produce sacks. Because the percentage of plays where you do that is so low, but the effort you have to give on each play to get to that is so high. And when you're going for a payday, it's a little easier to man up on every 3rd and long and kill yourself to get to the quarterback when you know that if you get to him twice, it's a good day.
Right.
That's the other part.
I mean,
playing offense is a lot of fun. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, I don't think quarterbacks are going to be affected by getting paid, because going out there and winging the ball around and producing touchdowns, that's fun.
Yeah. Baseball is going to be played. They're going to do it in a 60-game season. What is Danny Klinkscale looking forward to in this season? We'll talk about that. And anything else that's on Danny's mind, it's coming up next. Danny Unleashed with Danny Klinkscale. You can find his great work at DannyKlinkscale.com. He's brought to you by our friends at Easton Roofing. Joe Spiker and his team, they got you covered. You got to have what's essential, a roof over your family's head, and nobody does a better job of making sure that roof is absolutely perfect than Joe Spiker and his crew at Easton Roofing. Call them today at 913-257-5426. Find them online at EastonRoofing.com. Online, you can also see their incredible Google reviews. Angie's List Super Service Award winner, Best of Houses winner 4 straight years. They're the best in the business. They're Easton Roofing. Easton Roofing. Integrity matters.
It sucks!
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
We're here with Joe Spiker, the CEO and president of Easton Roofing. What's the difference at this time of year as we head toward the warmer months for homeowners, and what should they be looking at, coronavirus or not?
If you didn't do a good job of home maintenance in the fall, cleaning your gutters out, when we get the spring rains, that can be a real problem. So you want to make sure that you've done a good job on your home maintenance, cleaning your gutters out. We can help with that. I always tell people they never get their roof inspected. They get their furnace inspected once a year, but they never get their roof inspected. And we do the inspection on your roof for free. So you call, you make an appointment, and we'll show up, do the inspection. It's free. You should have your roof looked at once a year. Take advantage of us. And most likely you're fine. And if there's a problem, hopefully we can get out in front of it and save you money in the end.
So for any needs that people have right now, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Well, you can always call us, 913-257-5426. But the best way is to go to EastonRoofing.com, put your information in, and we'll give you a call.
Easton Roofing. Integrity matters.
Program on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Soren, Petro with you as we make our way through a very busy Friday. We're talking to Danny Klinkscale. Danny Unleashed, as always, proudly brought to you by Easton Roofing, also a proud sponsor of DannyKlinkscale.com. You can find Easton Roofing online at EastonRoofing.com or calling 913-257-5426. Residential and commercial roofing. Financing available, credit cards, PayPal. Never collect any payment until you're 100% satisfied, and they are hiring. Whether you're an experienced tech, they've got generous sign-on bonuses if you are, or if you have no experience at all. Paid training for those with little or no experience. Right now, Easton Roofing is growing, one of the fastest growing companies in Kansas City. Locally owned and operated, it's Easton Roofing online at EastonRoofing.com. Danny, are you ready for a little baseball, and are you excited about a 60-game season?
I am ready for some baseball, and I'm excited about the prospects for a 60-game season and the dynamics of it. It was just such a mess getting there that it's still I still got to get closer to actually playing baseball. That from the fact that I'm going to be really fired up because they made such a hash of things. And Curtis and I were just talking during the break. For the sport itself, because of all that went on, I think the sport would have been better off if they called off the season before all this mess happened, because it just was such a negative.
You don't think when they start playing games, all that's going to go in the rearview mirror?
No, I don't think all of it's going to go. I think it's going to help, but none of it would have happened. And they would have just said, well, we couldn't play ball because of the pandemic. That was a shame, but we'll be back fresh next year. So I am happy that they're going to play, and I get to watch baseball games, and they're going to mean a hell of a lot every step of the way.
Right. I love that idea.
I love that idea, too. The only aspect of it is we're talking about how important each game's going to be. The thing that sucks, and actually it probably is the case anyway, but you go out there and go 5-12 to start, you're about done. I mean,
yeah,
and so 5-12 ordinarily would be bad enough, but at least people be giving you the old, it's a long season, and
well, just think of it. You got to turn around and play just as good on the other end just to get to 500,
right.
And at that point you're past the halfway mark of the season,
right? And and somebody's going to put up somebody's going to put up a great record here. I mean, that's just going to happen. I mean, 60 game stretches, people can get really hot.
Royals' best 60-game stretch, I looked it up. No, I didn't. Curtis did. 45-15 is their best ever 60-game stretch. Their best 60-game start is 39-21. So I would imagine that somebody's going to go. We're probably guaranteed we're going to get a 40-20.
Yeah, I think so.
And maybe even better.
I think so because I think that there will be a natural letdown for the teams that really go out and kind of tank. And the circumstances of it, we are already seen, baseball players that, they don't generally mail it in, but especially under these circumstances. I'm doing all this, and I got to go through all this protocol every day, and we're losing. I mean, that's I would say that if teams get into that situation, they really should be combing through the roster and letting some players develop and seeing what they have. Because I think the veterans would be just cool with not playing if there's 30 games left and they're done and they got to go to the ballpark every day and get tested and they're at home, it sucks and whatever. I think they'd be fine. If you want him to play, you want Brady Singer to play, fine, go ahead, have at it.
Isn't the one thing that the Royals, what I think is going to be intriguing for the Royals is what do you do with your taxi squad? Right, they're going to have 60 guys total. You're going to have a 30-man squad or a 30-plus man squad ready that you can call guys up for if there's an injury or something. Don't you put every one of your best prospects into that mix so they are playing baseball?
Yeah, I would say that you certainly want them at least on the taxi squad so that you...
Right, if possible, maybe you don't want to bring them up because you don't want to start the service clock because every day counts as 2 2/3 days in the big leagues.
Yeah, and you see, and also you see how it goes. Maybe you are in the pennant race, and maybe... And maybe you figure we don't know what.
Come on.
You don't.
Come on.
Don't you think it's impossible for the Royals to be in the race?
I don't think it's impossible because it's baseball and freaky things happen. But I went through what I think. I think the lineup is actually good enough for them to put a push on. Not like they're going to live off the lineup. I mean, they can have a Rays-like lineup. There's nothing about this lineup that says it can't be as good as the Rays lineup. But for that to work, they got to pitch like the Rays. Now that it smells. I smell BS.
I'm not saying they're going to do it, but what
I'm
saying
I know,
is
but
they're going to play 40. They're going to play 40 games in the division. A couple of the teams, the division isn't very strong. So,
the Indians and Twins aren't good.
They're good. But you got two bad teams, so the
White Sox aren't an ascending team. I mean, hell, the White Sox might be the one that comes in and steal this. They've got young talent that's now got some experience. They're actually ready to make the jump.
I think they're better, but they're still. That's the type of thing that you have to see it.
Right.
The Twins,
what do you have to see about the Royals?
Well, I'm still putting it in the long shot semi-miracle category, but at least it's only 60 games.
Listen, I'm never going to – I said this yesterday. I'm not going to hate on anybody who goes out and tries to win. That's fine if they do. But they can't be at like 34 games and 5 under and 8 out going like, well, if we can just get hot.
Well, I totally agree with that. I mean, I think they have to be sort of above 500 and really and nobody's gone Bananarama in the division, so that they're really 3 or 4 games out. And
I just don't think – somebody's always hot. Right? Like they're going to have to be hot. Some team in this division, out of 5 teams, somebody's going to be hot. And if it's them, okay, fuel the beast. But if it's not them, like that's my fear is that like, well, it's a short year, anything can happen in 60 games.
What they should realize is that something can happen if you start out well. And then
like
you can lean on that. You say you go, 13-4 to start the season. Well, you got a nice cushion there. You can kind of just half-ass it the rest of the way and still have a chance.
How about if we do this? Because I'm never one that's adverse to having Curtis do some work. How about if Curtis looks up the best 60-game stretch for the Kansas City Royals in any year that followed a 100-loss season?
Yeah, that
right. We can talk about what the best is. The best Royals 60-game stretch, 45.
There's not that many of them. Worst, it's not that hard a project, I don't think.
Worst 15 and 45. They've had what 5 in their history, Curtis?
5 100-loss seasons.
Yeah, or more.
I think they've had 6. I think they had 4 in a 5-year stretch, and then they had the last 2.
I thought it was.
I thought they went the 02 and 05, or 4, 5, and 6. 2, 4, 5, and 6.
Okay,
and then the last 2.
Okay, and so you don't even need to. We don't have.
There's not going to be, and also there's not a.
So you've only got 5 years to look for what is the best 60-game stretch, and I think that's realistic to say that that's the absolute best that they can do. And I'll bet you're going to find tops is like 33 and 27, 35 and 25.
I can't disagree with you. I can't say that I think that there's much better, especially when you consider that what we said was the.
And I can tell you what year it is. It's 2003. That ridiculous fluke of a season.
Oh, probably
so, yeah. Yeah, because they got a decent amount over 500 and then kind of faded away.
So I'm not trying to rain on the parade. I'm going to watch baseball. It's the Royals. But, I think all decisions need to be made about 21 and really probably 22, 23, and 24.
Don't disagree, but I still would like to see the Royals start 10-5 and create some excitement. That'd be fun.
You can catch more of Danny Klingscale's content at DannyKlingscale.com. He is always brought to you by our friend Joe Spiker and his great company, Easton Roofing.
This podcast was made possible by our great sponsors like Easton Roofing, the presenting sponsor of Kansas City Profiles at the Danny Klingscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Easton Roofing, where integrity matters. We hope you enjoyed the latest Danny Klingscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Come back soon for something fresh and new.